Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. I'm Big B. We got our Deltaforce Vortex 24 on the block. This is going to be a twin motor hydroplane build. Okay. In this video, I'm going to introduce you guys to what I'm using. At the same time, I'm going to go over everything you need for an RC boat build, what you need to think about, kind of the order you need to think about it, and figure out what you need. So stick around. It might be a good video for the new boater or someone thinking about building a boat. Advanced, intermediate guys, you guys can see what we're using. It's going to be very informative. Okay, so stick around. Big B with Ironclad RC. So before we get started, I want to give Daniel Fordham a happy birthday shout out from Big B at Ironclad RC. Happy birthday, brother. All right. So when you're thinking about building an RC boat, okay, you want to consider what type of boat hull you want to build. Each type of hull handles different situations better than others. Okay, you got a mono hydroplane, a catamaran, a rigger, a scale boat. There's tons of options. So do your due diligence and research which hull's better for what you're wanting to do. Okay, so what do you want out of your boat? Do you want an oval boat? Do you want a saw boat, like balls to the wall speed? Do you want a basher? Do you want a scale running boat, or just a fun running, just a fun running boat? So those are all things you need to take into considerations before you buy the hull and when you start picking out electronics. When you get your boat hull, you choose the hull that you wanted to build. All right, I think you should get your hull first and then do the shopping for the hull later on. Once you get the hull, you're going to need to do some measurements. Okay, a caliper, I live by this thing. Like, I use it dozens of times a day. Measuring batteries, make sure they're going to fit in the hull. Motors, ESCs, hardware, use your caliper and live by it. You also need a ruler, okay, in metric imperial standard. I like this adjustable. It'll hold my measurements for me, so it comes in handy. Okay, and you're going to need a scale, small scale for measuring out epoxies and weighing out electronics. I have two different ones. I have a small one and a large one. I like to kind of keep track of the weight of my boat while I'm building it and once I'm done. First or last thing you need to do to the hull is figure out how you want to keep the hatch on your boat. Okay, I usually wait till last. Here lately I've been doing it first. But do you want to just use hatch tape, or are you going to need to order some hatch locks to hold your hatch on? Okay, so think about that. So if you're going to be doing like a high-speed saw build or a basher build, or planning on running heavy electronics, you may want to consider doing a carbon fiber inlay, carbon Kevlar inlay. Carbon Kevlar, carbon fiber inlay will help disperse and distribute the load from your electronics where you have your electronics mounted in the hull. Okay, it will reduce stress cracks in the hull over time. It will strengthen the hull, help prolong the life of your hull. So if you're thinking about putting heavy electronics in a boat or going big, going fast, carbon Kevlar, carbon fiber is a good idea. It's not really all that hard. Make you a template, cut the carbon fiber to size, and lay it in your boat. Okay, I use Innovative Composite Technologies, which is VENOM carbon brand. I use a 3K 2x2 6-ounce twill. While we're on the topic of carbon fiber, you can buy panels. I use these 2mm panels all the time for, as you can see, making motor mounts. I use it for making servo mounts. I use it anywhere and everywhere I can with my build. It's a lightweight option. It's easy to work with, easy to bond in your boat. Okay, one of the most important parts of your build is figuring out what voltage you want to run. Once you figure out your voltage, you kind of base your KV and motor off of that. Okay, you base what voltage or what size batteries you can run on the hull and how big or small or where you can kind of fit the batteries. Okay, so when you're shopping for batteries or thinking about voltage, use your measuring tool. Okay, figure out how big of batteries you can put in it. The weight, take weight into consideration. Light boat is a fast boat. Light boat's a happy boat. Okay, so figure out what voltage. I like to actually choose my motor KV so that I can run like a 3 or a couple different voltages, like 3 and 4S or 6 and 8S. You know what I'm saying? I like to have that option. When you're picking out batteries, take the milliamp and how long of runtime you want into consideration. Lower milliamp, you're going to have a shorter runtime. Higher milliamp, a longer runtime. Okay, if you're wanting to run ovals, you may want to think about running 2 packs in parallel. Okay, longer runtime. You also want to think about C rating. C rating is basically the burst or how fast the boat will go on that particular size or type battery. Lower C ratings, slower boat. Higher C ratings, faster boat. And I say that loosely. Okay, I don't have time to go into all of it, but that kind of touches base. So we're going to be running 3 and 4S. I know where I want to run my batteries in this boat. I know about what size. I have some more batteries coming. So once you figure out what voltage, you pick your motor KV from that. Okay, do you want to run a single motor? Single motors are going to be easier to set up. They're going to be cheaper and probably more than likely run just as good, if not better, than a twin motor. Okay, hydroplanes typically only run single motors. I'm doing something outside the box here, so I'm going to run twins. I originally got sent these 3400 2968 size motors. They're considerably larger than the motors I chose to run. I'm taking weight into consideration because I know I need 2 of everything in this boat, so I went with a smaller motor, 3330 kV. So if you're a new boater and you're building your first boat, I actually recommend going on the lower spectrum of kV option. Okay, lower kV is going to run cooler. You can run more prop options and the boat be cooler. Okay, less headache. All right. If you're like trying for speed, then yeah, you may want to go higher kV or lower kV and run big props. So I recommend doing your due diligence when you're picking out kV and motor choice. Don't go too big with the motor. It'll weigh the boat down. You don't want to go too small. It's not going to be powered or have enough power, and you're going to have high temps, and you're going to be forced to run small props. And yeah, so do your due diligence. Really think about motor choice and battery choice. Very important. Just as important is speed control options. Okay, so make sure the speed control you choose is compatible with the brushless motors you're running. Okay, make sure the max amp rating on your speed control is 20 to 30% more than the max capable current pull from the motors. Okay, so just say your motors are going to pull 100 amps max, right? Your speed control needs to be like 120 amp, 130 amp max, continuous. Most ESCs have a burst, so you want to look for continuous current 20-30% higher than the motors. And I like to look at the burst current. Okay, some have like 100 amp and a burst of 120. Some have 100 amp with a burst of 900. So for like a split second. So choose the ESC according to what you're trying to do with the boat. Also, do your due diligence with measuring out your speed control. Also, take into consideration where the cooling nipples are mounted on the ESC. They're water-cooled motors, water-cooled ESCs, fans just don't cut it. Water-cooled. When you're picking out motor cooling jackets, make sure the nipples are coming out so that you can fit your hatch on. You know, take, like, they have straight nipples, they have 90-degree nipples. Some ESCs have nipples on one side, some have nipples on either side, some have nipples coming out the top. So take all that into consideration, okay? Just as important as ESC and motor, battery choice is the type of connectors you use. This is often overlooked by new boat builders, myself included. So, in the description of your connectors, check it out. They'll have a max amp rating. So these are 80 amp speed controls. Okay, I'll put it up on the screen what these 4mm are rated at. But you want to make sure that you oversize the connector. Okay, if you undersize your connector, your bullet or battery connector, it'll create more resistance in your wires, lower current flow, restricted current flow, and increase wire temperature. So make sure you get a connector that's going to be up to or better. So once you figure out what motor, ESC, and battery you're going to run, get a rough estimate of how much your boat's going to weigh and how much power output you're expecting and what size props you want to run for your boat. Because now you're going to need to pick out your driveline, your flex cable, or straight shaft. A lot of high performance FE boats nowadays are running wire drives. You got to have a forward mounted motor for a wire drive, but most commonly used is a flex cable. Okay, make sure when you buy your flex cable that the flex cable is going to be adequate or sized properly for your brushless motor. You got lots of options. You got 0.98, 0.130, 0.150, 0.187 flex cable. You got 8, 4mm, 3/16, 1/4 inch stub shaft. So make sure the flex cable is heavy duty enough to turn the size propellers you want to turn and handle the weight you're putting in your boat, light boat. Keep your boat light as you can. So I like to pick my flex cables out according to motor and the size and type boat. Okay, so pick out a strut or a stinger that's going to best accommodate the style hull you're running. When you pick out a strut or stinger, take the length of the stinger, or in my case, the barrel length into consideration. They have long barrels, short barrels, flat bottom barrels, round bottom. Okay, take the diameter of the stuffing tube side into consideration and the diameter of the flex cable. Okay, also want to think about the shank length and the setback. Okay, where that setback is in relation to the rudder you choose. Okay, so lots of numbers you gotta deal with. You might want to get a notepad, write down, and kind of back and forth, do your research, measure back and forth, because it's really important that you get the right strut to hold your flex cable. Make sure it's strong enough for the flex cable. And when you're picking out propeller bore, I wouldn't want to run an 8th shaft on this boat because the propeller choice is very limited for twins and the diameter is not large enough. So I chose a 4mm cable because 4mm props are in that 34 to 38mm range, perfect for this boat. I can also shim up a 3/16 prop, see that shim in the bore there, and run smaller 3/16 props on this boat. So I kind of I chose a driveline so that I have propeller options. Okay, so when you're picking out your flex cable, a lot of flex cable assemblies come with drive dogs and prop nuts. If they don't, you're going to need to order one. When you order your drive dog, that's what basically holds the prop on in place, I guess. You don't want to pick a drive dog that's larger than the strut barrel. You want a drive dog that's a touch smaller than your strut barrel. Okay, they also have tapered forward and aft tapers. Lots of choices for drive dogs, so check the diameter of your strut, the drive dog, and the diameter of the hub of your propeller. Okay, so this is what I'm running right here. Okay, also take into consideration what type of bushing, bearing, or sleeve bearing the struts use. Very important. Okay, pay attention to the color of the hardware, like anodizing. They have like grays, silvers, titanium, blues, reds. I got all my hardware matching all the way down to the pickup. Okay, so pay attention to that. Rudders have different length blades, different thicknesses, different shape, wedge, straight. Pay attention to that because each blade is specific to hole type. They give you two different lengths on your blade, overall total length and the blade length. You want to pay attention to the blade length as well as overall length. Also want to look at setback, how far your rudder blade hangs off the transom. Want to really pay attention to that in relation to your strut and where your propeller is mounted on the transom. You don't want your rudder to run into the prop. You don't want it to be too far forward or too far back from the prop. There's a happy medium. So pick it out precisely. Okay, also, like different brands are specific to one another. Get different length and shape blades to fit the hinge block or base. Like this right here, it has the same size pin, so I can run a 70 millimeter blade or a 90 millimeter blade. I have options there. All boats are water cooled, right? All of them are water cooled. There are a few exceptions, but 99.9% of our fast electric boats are water cooled. So you're going to need a means of picking up water. Okay, most rudders come with, or modern rudders come with, a water pickup. Okay, got a little pickup on the blade right there, a nipple, and it pushes water through your motors and ESCs to cool everything down, right? So if you want dual cooling, you may want to pick up a dual pickup rudder. I'm running single, so I'm going to need to use an external water pickup. This is a transom mounted water pickup. They have through hole pickups, lots of options there as well. So you need a way to cool your electronics. Okay, if you're going to run a single, a Y splitter is a good idea. Okay, you're going to need a means of distributing the water through your boat. Pick out a cooling line that's going to best suit your boat. This is a new option from Offshore Electrics. This is a large silicone cooling line. It has the same inside diameter as the extra large, but it's smaller and more flexible, okay? And it will best suit this 24-inch boat. It's going to be a lightweight option, so think about that. You'll need a way for the water to exit your boat. There's a couple different options here as well. I'm going to use a water exit, small. So water cooling, okay? You're going to need a means of connecting your rudder to your servo, okay? I use custom connections, custom made steering rods. This is a readily available steering rod from Offshore Electrics. You're going to need a servo, okay? I don't really have to go into servos. There's tons of options, tons of sizes, torques. Yeah, so make sure your servo is up to the task. Like a hydroplane, it has a lot of forces being put on the rudder and turn fin, so I couldn't go with a small servo. I needed to get something a little heavy duty, beefy, so I went with this DS. Okay, you're gonna need a way of mounting your servo. Lots of mounting options. You can choose stand-up servo mounts, lay-down servo mounts. Pick a servo mount that's gonna fit in your boat and work with the boat. Okay, I like making my own. They have readily made ones. Okay, you're gonna need connection points for your servo horn. Also something to consider. A lot of servos come with plastic servo arms. If you want an aluminum, you may need to order that separate. Okay, connecting the servo rod to the servo, you'll need a connector. When you order connectors for your servo rod or servo, make sure the bore is the right size. Okay, if you get one that's too small, you can actually drill them out. All right, but make sure that's on point. Also check the diameter of the post and the threaded area when you make this order. Okay, very important there. You'll need a way of waterproofing the through hole for your steering rod. These are called bellows or rubber boots. They have a few different options to choose from, so pay attention to this area of the boot. Also make sure the diameter of the receiving end is going to fit your rod. This guy right here, you actually run like a brass tube through the hole. This goes over the tube and gets zip tied in place. Okay, this one here, you can actually drill a really tight fitting hole in the hull and press fit this in there, and it just kind of fits in a hole drilled into the boat. So make sure you get the right one. Let's see, where we at? We went over water cooling, strut, driveline, oils. You'll need some greases, okay, to grease your flex cable, oils to keep everything working. We do run in water. It is corrosive, but you'll need some CA, some glues, greases, epoxies. I use 15, 30 finishing epoxies, slow cure epoxies. I have probably 8 different epoxies to choose from. You also need a way of mounting your speed control. Scotch Extreme is a good mounting tape. 3M is another good one. You can like directly mount your ESC to the hull. You can buy trays like fiberglass, carbon fiber ESC mounting trays to get the ESC up off the deck. You'll need a way to mount your batteries. Okay, so don't forget your battery tray. Or Velcro works really good. The soft lock Velcro, in my opinion, is the way to go. Heavy duty industrial soft lock Velcro. I've been trying to stay away from this hard lock Velcro that like hard lock onto each other. They stay in place, but you have to use jam foam on top. So if you're not able to use jam foam on your batteries, you're going to need a heavy duty soft lock Velcro. This stuff here breaks loose too easy. You feel me? So if you're using this hard lock, get you some jam foam and yeah, keep it in place. Okay, so let's see, battery trays. Okay, so you're going to need a transmitter. Okay, any cheap transmitter. I like this DX5 Rugged. It's seen better days, but it's still working. Holds 25 models. For an RC boat, all you need is a 2-channel transmitter. One for the servo, one for the motor. If you're running a twin, and this is only if you're running a twin, you're going to need a Y splitter to split the signal from your ESCs and plug into your receiver. Only for twins. Singles don't need that. If you're building a monohull, you're going to need trim tabs, turn fins, all the little bells and whistles on the transom. Make sure you measure everything out, the sizes, the lengths, heights, so it fits on your boat. I'll be using a single turn fin on this one until we redesign the bottom for a drag boat. So I got this curved fin here. Okay, I have links in the description for everything. Okay. So I think I hit or touched base on pretty much everything you need for an RC boat build. Make sure you have stainless steel nuts, bolts, and washers. One of my viewers sent me this box, actually a couple of these boxes, and it's much appreciated. Definitely need mounting hardware. Read the fine print when you order your hardware. Make sure it's got screws and stuff like that. Good cup of coffee comes in handy, or a couple cups. Alright, so I really just wanted to make this video for the new boaters thinking about building their own boat. There's a lot of thought, a lot of measuring, a lot of research, weighing that goes into it. I typically like to get my hull first, like I said, and then go from there with it. You know, sometimes I'll have a box of parts sitting around for any specific boat for months before I actually start the build. You know, sometimes you get things that it just won't work, and you may have to make it work or reorder, you know. So take your time and really consider your options when you're putting together a boat. Even upgrading a ready-to-run boat, you really want to do your due diligence. And I hope this video really puts the thought process and what you have to really concentrate on into perspective for my new builders, you know, new to the channel, new to my builds. I'm excited to get started on this one. In the next video, we'll probably make the motor mount, servo mount, try to get some holes drilled, some hardware hanging, and yeah, we'll kind of go from there with it. Another thing I want to throw out there before I let you go, you can use sticky putty or double-sided tape to hang hardware on your transom while you're setting things up, you know. So you can kind of get a judge of where everything goes. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check the description for all the links. I'll try to link everything I can for you guys to help you out. I'll have a playlist started for this boat. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. See you next time.